Hello and welcome to this updated video guide for completing Castrum Fluminis in Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. My name is TSDS, and in this video you'll learn everything you need to know to quit smoking. There are 3 mechanics here that a lot of people mess up on, so let's take a look. As the main tank, pull Tsukuyomi and turn her away from the group. As the off tank, you're basically a DPS for the whole encounter. Now then, big mess up mechanic number 1 is called Torment Unto Death. Effectively, this is just a frontal AoE tank buster. It hits quite hard, so tanks can pop mitigation, and healers should keep an eye out for when Tsukuyomi casts it. This will absolutely chunk anyone who is not a tank, so for the entire fight, remember not to stand in front of the boss. As the main tank, you should try your best to always keep Tsukuyomi facing away from the group, though this is sometimes easier said than done. The next big mess up mechanic is called Zac Galifianakis and involves overlapping circle AoEs, meaning it's once again time for Learning with Tom. That's me! In today's episode we're going to avoid Zashiki Asobi. This is extremely similar to one of Titan's bomb patterns and involves 9 large fans appearing around the arena, one after the other. The first fan always appears in the middle of the room and the other 8 go around the edges. After a short delay, each fan produces a large circle AoE. The trick here is to see where the fans are dropping, identify where the final edge fan will be, and then go and stand on it. Once the middle AoE goes off, you can quickly move into the middle of the room to avoid the outer AoEs. Now let's see this one for real. The fans start dropping, so I reposition myself on the last edge fan and wait. The middle AoE goes off and I move into the middle, avoiding all the hits. Yay! This mechanic trips people up fairly commonly and people easily end up standing in front of the boss, so main tank should reposition when needed. Another mechanic to look out for is called Nightfall. When cast, Tsukuyomi will pull out a weapon. If she pulls out her sword and you hear this blade sound effect,
your end is near.
She will do a large conal AoE at a random player. The cone AoE can be a pain in the ass to avoid at times due to the fan AoEs occurring at the same time, so if you do end up eating something, don't kick yourself too hard, shit happens. If, however, she pulls out her gun and you hear this machine gun sound effect,
beg for mercy.
She will instead cast a directional stack-up marker on a random player. Now then, this may or may not be a new mechanic for you. Basically, instead of all players needing to stand in the same spot like a normal stack-up marker, the directional stack-up marker requires players to all stand in a line coming from the boss and going in the direction of the target. It doesn't seem to matter if you stand in front or behind the target, so just line up. For other mechanics in this phase, Tsukuyomi can occasionally cast Reprimand, which just deals group damage. The last mechanic is Midnight Haze. Here, the boss will rip a fat vape and create a smoke ad on either side of the room. Basically, just kill them. They try to cast something after a while, and I don't really know what it does, but it's unlikely to be anything enjoyable. At about 70%, the boss will stun the party with Night Bloom and start phase 2. I'm not actually going to show you this phase because if you care about the story, you'll find some pretty interesting appearances. However, I will draw your attention to the duty gauge that appears. This suffering value increases during the phase and just increases the damage you'll take when transitioning into phase 3. Basically, all you need to do here is kill ads. At one point, 2 groups of 3 ads will spawn, so it's good if the tanks can group these up for AoE. When the last ad is down, the third and final phase will begin. Here, all of the previous mechanics return along with some new ones. The first one you're likely to see is the final big mess up mechanic, Selenomancy. Here, Tsukuyomi will split the room half in black and half in white. While you stand in one side of the room for around 4 seconds, you'll get a debuff of that colour. If you hit 5 stacks of that debuff, you'll die. The trick is to move from one side to the other at 3 or 4 stacks. When you change sides, the next time stacks will be applied, you'll drop all stacks of the previous side and gain 1 stack of the new side. Realistically, it's not that difficult, but people die to this, so pay attention. Also, do remember not to stand in front of the boss when you're running around. Now, at some point during this black and white mechanic, there will also be an orb on either side. Eventually, these will make donut AoEs around them, so either stand close to them or far away. In addition, Selenomancy can also be active at the same time as the Fat Vape smoke ads. These ads and the orb AoEs are just designed to distract you from how many Selenomancy stacks you have. Avoid the AoEs and kill the ads, but above all else, keep an eye on your stacks and do not let them get to 5. To end Selenomancy, the boss will cast either Anti-Twilight or Periloon, both of which just deal group damage. Finally, do note that on average you'll only see 2 Selenomancy attacks during the whole phase. The next mechanic to go over is Lunacy. This is a stack up marker and it's basically another Akmorn. Stack up with your group and wait for all Lunacy attacks to finish before spreading out again. Lunacy can also come during a fan attack, but the general rule is basically the same. Stack up at the last edge fan and move into the middle when it's safe. The final mechanic to mention here is an extremely wide conal AoE that the boss uses occasionally, however it's pretty easy to avoid. And now for some final comments. There's quite a bit of group damage here and the fan attacks throw players around a lot. Healers should expect moderate damage and deaths, especially to Selenomancy. A lot of these mechanics can overlap, and to be honest it can be a bit hectic during your first time, but it's not the end of the world if you take some hits. But not the tank buster, only the tank should eat that, don't stand in front of the boss please. Also, if you get targeted by the directional stack up marker while fighting the Fat Vape ads, line up with the ad so your team can continue to attack it while dealing with the mechanic. But this is just for extra style points, so no need to try hard. Melee should pop a level 3 limit break when ready, and GG. And that's Castrum Fluminis. If you've enjoyed the guide, then let me know, and if there are any other guides or perspectives you'd like to see, then check out my channel or feel free to ask me to create one. Thank you for watching, and good luck.